السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Masjid Carpark podcast, episode 34. No, I'm joking. Episode 37.
MashaAllah.
I was waiting for that reaction.
37.
Today, we have a special guest, the guest of honor, the man, the hair, the cap, Mr. Brother Maulana. Is Maulana yet?
Yes,
Maulana
teacher,
Ahmed
Sheikh.
Baluli. Okay, I should have started that with a lot more respect. Sheikh Ahmed Baluli,
He's
teacher.
a former student of our madrasa and also now he's a teacher, mashallah, and teaching maktab. And also he's the man behind he turns on the cameras. And
Is he going to give us all the gossip on your teaching style? Ahmed, Assalamu alaikum, brother.
yeah, I have my moments,
How
good
are
and
you?
bad.
Fix the microphone. Oh, I love
sorry.
that.
Yeah. Welcome.
Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.
That's better. Good man.
So Lata's not here, wasn't able to make it. So, but also actually more importantly, we
I'm so worried about where you're
no,
gonna go
what I'm
with
saying,
this.
because he's Albanian.
Okay, and
Are you Albanian?
I have the power of veto
Albania,
on
Albania?
this.
All right, so he's
Okay.
Albanian.
I have the power of veto of editing this. What you're about to say next.
No,
That's
no,
all
no.
saying.
I'm just saying we need to have representation of Eastern Europe.
okay.
And this is
Happy
the
with
closest link for
that. Okay,
that.
Happy with that.
And so he knows nothing about Eastern Europe and Russia and Ukraine.
But he looks like one of them.
But yeah, he
Bro, you all look the same to us.
So we needed a white person to give their perspective from Eastern Europe, what their feelings are, what they're going through, seeing the refugee crisis of people that look like them, and that's about it. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, it's pretty.
The
full
double
on.
standards on display
Yeah.
is unbelievable across the world.
Yep.
And you can't blame them for it. You can criticize it, like say, oh, you look at double standards, whatever, but it's only that's human nature.
Yeah, protect your own
Yeah,
skin.
and it's not nothing. It's like as a human, you have to understand. People, birds of a feather flock together, and people that see that's somebody that looks like them.
Except for the Arabs. They don't flock
Looks like
together.
them. They looks like
Looks
them.
like us.
And they naturally,
An affinity will form.
Yeah. This Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
the Ansar, the people of Medina Munawwara, one of the tribe became Muslim, and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam turned to the Ansar, take care of your brothers because they are similar to you in your skin color.
No way.
Yeah. So
Subhanallah.
because like they're basically related to you, meaning that there's an obligation. They're from your lineage does meet somewhere. If you're from the neighbor, you're from the
Does
neighbor.
that mean I'm somehow related to you all the way back? That's a bit scary.
No, we're totally different.
Look at this bloke.
No. From Hyderabad, man. Like,
Sorry, and you're from where?
yeah, I get it. Like, Hyderabad is closer to where I'm from,
I know you're
northwest.
much
Yeah, there is we go north. North, they become more fairer and lovelier.
No, he's talking about the. You said that Fair and Lovely, right?
It's a cream. It's in India. It's
It
a
makes
cream.
you white.
Yeah, it's called Fair and Lovely. Fair and Lovely, isn't it?
But you know what the funniest thing about
So-
Fair and the most
Astaghfirullah.
ironic thing about Fair and Lovely was these Indian actors and actresses that used to market this, right?
Mm.
So Fair and Lovely, they've got the ads going, everything. They jumped on the Black Lives Matter bandwagon, and they got slaughtered for it
Yeah,
for
that's-
the hypocrisy of it all.
So when people people are sending messages and like, look at the double standards. There's some weird stuff like these kids that have blonde hair. They said it like in the press.
One of the reporters said it. It's Ukraine. It's not Iraq or
Yeah.
whatever the Middle
There's
East.
a
where they've been having
compilation of
decades of war.
Yeah.
going on.
It's civilized. It's
Yeah,
part of
civilized,
Europe.
that was the word he used, yeah.
Civilized Europe. Like they are only the people that are civilized. But subhanallah, like
But can you blame them for it at the same time?
yeah, it's human instinct and nature.
But you know what the interesting thing about that is? You're talking about human instinct and nature. The Arab world doesn't stick together. If you look at India, Pakistan, Bangladesh,
It depends. No,
they're same skin
yeah,
color.
I think we are divided to
Sri
a.
Lanka.
It depends on how tribalistic people are. So, skin color is an obvious thing that people will like. It's an obvious
Well,
identifier.
we are in a country that had the white Australia policy.
Yeah, but that's more of a see. You leave political policies out. Instinctively, people will be a group around their skin color, if not their tribe. So this
Instinctively?
especially with color and tribes are like that's like you're raised into that. And
Actually, yeah, it's when you go traveling overseas, if you meet another Aussie, we group around accents. It's like, yeah, this bloke's cool.
Yeah.
Unless I meet you.
Yeah,
I
I never have that feeling.
Really?
No,
I love it, man.
No,
When I go overseas and I hear an Aussie accent or someone that's Aussie talking, I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Where are you from, mate? And usually they're from Melbourne or Sydney, rather than
I don't get that
anywhere
feeling ever.
interesting.
Nah, I don't get that feeling.
Really?
Yeah.
I do, big time. What about you, Ahmed?
I'm bit half, and sometimes if I hear like a unique accent I haven't heard like ever, I'll be more like I'd go that way. Let's be like, oh, interesting. Where are you from?
So if you had a unique accent or an Aussie accent, which one are you going to go towards?
It's hard to say.
Overseas,
right?
Overseas
is
I mean, Aussie obviously.
Overseas, if I don't go to the Aussie accent, I feel like a traitor.
But really,
yeah.
But then
it's like how you.
I think into it. I said, if I met this person in Australia, I would just be like, they would walk the other way. They see me like this. They wouldn't really identify with me.
Yeah, but that's them. I'm talking about you.
Yeah.
And that's where you do break down the barriers. So if you do chat with,
if you have the need for friends,
I met the imam that was trying to implement Sharia law, and he's all right.
If you need, the group thing and friends and.
The group thing, huh?
The group, like you need.
I'm into the group thing.
Yeah. If you want the group, if you want to be part of the group.
I'm feeling homesick. I don't know. Like sometimes you've been overseas for a while, you haven't seen any Australians or haven't heard the accent. You just a little bit homesick. I don't know.
Little bit. I get homesick quickly.
Oh, okay.
When I'm overseas,
that makes sense.
Yeah, one of my students messaged the other day, and he's homesick. He went overseas just now from the madrasa. One of our students, and. He said message to me like he's homesick.
Yeah, there's no place like home.
Yeah. The madrasa only allows him to have a phone every 2-3 weeks, for a couple of hours or something. So
where's he studying?
In South Africa. So he's a good brother, mashallah, Hafiz al-Quran and so forth. But he did 2 years with us, and then
that's pretty full on.
No, it's not. It's
every 2-3 weeks.
Oh, the phone thing.
With your family.
Yeah, I mean, that's good tarbiyah, like. The age of the. Can you imagine how he has to.
Traumatized he's going to be?
No, it'd be good for him probably.
Inshallah. I mean.
Subhanallah. Back to the Ukraine thing. So I was just reading about the history and.
It's quite interesting, isn't it?
The Muslim history. I was reading about the Crimean Tatars and what happened to them and what Stalin did to them. They got a very long history. They became Muslim like 800 years ago or something, and they
in Crimea. So these Tatars are local to
there was
Crimea.
They were part of the Golden Horde, if I remember correctly. They were a break off from that, and they were Muslims and they're Turks, they're like original Turks. No offense to Turks, but they were they were the OGs of Turks, and they had their own rulership and so forth, and they were treated really badly. They were betrayed by the Russians because they're like this sort of minority on this little island, peninsula, and then they're closer to Russia and Turkey, and they were sort of like connected. They were connected to Ottomans. They're sort of under their protection. They were linked to them. What's the name of that city, the town, the port? Stavros starts with it's a big British fort over in, if I remember correctly, and there's it's a very strategic port. That's the reason why they took Crimea, because a naval base there.
I have no idea.
So now the population, they were once 200 years ago, they were 85% of the population. Now they're 10%. There's 1.5 million Russians there.
That's what Stalin did to them.
Well,
Stalin was an evil prick.
He was a terrible human being. And he basically sent them out in cattle carts or cattle trains out towards the east to Siberia. Hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands died. Then they were in different countries, sent to Kazakhstan. They were just dispersed everywhere into Ukraine and Kazakhstan and Poland and different countries. And then Russia actually during the communist era, they actually did a formal apology. This was excessive, and it was oppression on these people. So there was actually a return of them coming back. Now they got caught out because Crimea till 2017 was part of Ukraine, and then Russia annexed it. Putin annexed it. So it was the first part of Russia that actually, Ukraine that Russia took. And so I
think he thought this was going to be another Crimea.
Not just a Crimea. I think he was thought another Crimea, another Chechnya, another Georgia, Abkhazia, and those places, Ossetia, South Ossetia,
And
North Ossetia.
he bit off
Like-
more than he can chew.
Yeah, I think this time, I'm not sure how, as a Muslim, firstly, as a human being, of course, you admire the spirit that's been projected by the Ukraine in terms of their resistance. Not sure how long it will last because they've got that convoy 40-mile.
Yeah, but they're also getting a lot of weapons and things from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
West
I
to
mean,
help out. The West is not
how
going
it's
to
going
leave
to
them.
turn out, it's still.
And you got to take your hats off to the Ukrainians, the old women.
Yeah,
I heard on the radio today. They're interviewing this lady, and you can hear by her voice she's an old lady, and she's making Molotov cocktails, right? So it's another
Yeah,
lady like this. Another grandma's basically
very
collecting
Eastern
bottles.
European.
Collecting bottles, she's making it. So the lady's going, okay, and where did you learn this? And she goes, Google. She
Yeah.
goes, "I Googled
Imagine a
it."
Muslim made that.
Yeah.
So the double
That's the
standards are extreme. And for example, that's one thing. The weapons, people sending money. Like I was listening to a podcast.
Yeah, and
It's a famous podcast in the US. He's talking to a Ukrainian comedian or something. And then in the middle, he said, all right, I'll send some money. Like he goes, yeah, we're trying to get money to get guns. Now imagine, this is not like on a podcast, collecting money. They're going to buy AK-40s guns and so forth. Imagine
Yeah,
if a
but-
Muslim podcast did that for anywhere in the world.
Yeah, but the difference is Ukraine is considered the West. So it is again a them and us,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, they have to
that's
close
what-
ranks.
yeah,
And the
and
main,
it is
the
considered
way
that.
they close ranks
And how quickly
within 48 hours.
it was phenomenal. And
It was
you
in
know,
like 40,
the-
not 40, yeah, 48 hours. It was in
what was it? The British Foreign Secretary said, "If you want to go fight, go fight."
Yeah. Denmark sent there's people going from all over the world, but then like this
And
random
we
fat
treated
guy
his-
turns up on the Russian side. Takes some guy from Texas. This old guy.
No way.
Yeah, he goes. He's cheering the Russians on. It's like he's like a redneck from Texas.
How did he end up?
I don't know.
He's
Like-
got to be a Trump supporter.
I mean, whatever it is, he's a Russian. He's a full Texan white guy from Texas.
I haven't seen that.
And he's in the Russian. It made me laugh because the way he does he's like a fat overweight old guy, and he does like a karate kick in the air to show his support, like like go for it in a boys sort of thing.
Look, it's sad.
That 40-mile convoy. It's a 40-mile convoy, and if you look on the pictures, it's like 3 lanes of 40 miles.
Yeah, it is 3 lanes of 40 miles. All that needs to happen is something needs to be dropped in the right spot.
Yeah.
That convoy's not going
Well,
anywhere.
I saw the video of the Chechen convoy, which is really sad to see because they're part of the Russian Federation, that Commonwealth or whatever you call it, the CIS or whatever it is, which is the Federation, Russian Federation.
Coalition of the Willing.
Well, basically, they're all like it's Russia, and then there's plus other countries that are part of the Russian Federation. It's bigger, and Russia is one part.
Belarus is part of it.
No, Belarus is a separate country, independent country. It's not part of that. So, like,
So you're saying this is Russia?
Tatarstan, Siberia. Yeah, these are like
Okay.
former Soviet states that voted to stay part of the Russian Federation.
Okay. So,
So-
it's Russia.
It's not exactly Russia. It's Russia plus. Put it that way. Yeah. So
iPhone 14, Russia 14.
what's that?
It's the 14th version of Russia.
No. It's the what do you call it?
I thought our phones were meant to be off.
Because I got to educate you. So
Okay, anyway,
It's
while
CIS,
he,
it's
how are his teaching methods while he's looking that up? How was it, having him as a teacher?
No, it's
I shouldn't really ask you while he's in front of you because there's, you've got to be very careful how you speak.
I'm always careful. no, because
That
of
says
but
it all.
because- No, if someone's even soft, I don't want to like some people are soft teachers, right? And some people are stern, whatever, right? But the point is, even soft teachers, if you say it the wrong way, then people think, oh, they're not effective. But like everyone's got their style and different levels of effectiveness. So,
Are you glad you had him as a teacher?
100%.
Are you saying that because he's sitting here?
No, I tell everybody.
that's
Anybody who asks
that's
me.
enough, mate.
No,
Ten
everybody who
topic.
asks me.
No, I'm enjoying this. Look, he's worried about what's going to be let out. Oh, secrets. Apart from that, have you got any family?
Yeah, it's called the
in,
Commonwealth of Independent States.
Okay.
It was a regional intergovernmental organization in Eastern Europe and Asia. It was formed following the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991. It covers blah, blah, blah area. And, oh, yeah, you're right. It does include Belarus in it.
Thank you.
So, membership is Armenia, Azerbaijan. So it's like a sort of European Union of Russia. Yeah.
Yeah, however, the only ones that are coming to fight are the Chechens and maybe the Belarusians.
Belarusian, yeah, they're just separated. So Chechen one's really sad because for those who are sort of middle age or like I'm in my 40s. So if you remember if you have a memory long enough, you remember the early 2000s and the 90s and how the Chechens fought the Russians.
and what the
and
Russians
then,
did to Chechnya.
and then in the 90s, how they defeated the Russians. Then in the 2000s, of course, Putin went all out, and the battle for Grozny, and you can read about that, and the just barrage of rockets.
Massacres.
Yeah, like he wiped out, like, of course, any opponents were wiped out, and then and people end up overseas as well. But any fighters or opposition to him, and then he basically put Kadyrov, which is the current ruler, and this guy uses Islam a lot, right?
See, there's a lot of people that look at Kadyrov on YouTube and cheer him on.
They don't know
a lot
his
of our
father.
listeners are
Him
probably
and his
doing
father's the betrayal of like Islam. Like they sold out. They're basically like puppets to I think. Now people like the strong man. They like the strong ruler. He'll bring out a cup which is like attributed to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the hero of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He'll go to Medina, like very well polished, cultural, and Islam is part of it. That image of his, it's not like real Islam. It's like a very sort of cultural Islam. When I say culture,
Modified
Islam is also a culture in the sense of that it's a way of life. Culture means a way of life, but it's the way the way he uses it, and then compared to what it was, it's very manipulated and very the image.
Basically, it's the children of the people that fought against the Russians.
Now they're fighting for the Russians.
For the Russians.
It's really like weird to see. And their convoy got attacked, and Ukraine bought these drones from Turkey, and those are the drones that actually killed the drones.
Wow.
Turkey's making their own drones. I mean, so many countries are, but their manufactured drones are the one that attacked the Chechen convoy, and they got killed. And this is like
Is that it? But could you say that's a Muslim killing a Muslim?
No, I mean it's the Ukrainians killing. They sold. Yeah, that's the thing. You're not supposed to sell a weapon against a Muslim. But the problem is, this is not about Islam.
This was about Russia.
You're not supposed, as a Muslim, either way, you're not supposed to fight. The only fight that is there, one is of course for defense, and one is for raising the standard, the Deen of Allah, and removing any obstacles and keeping the enemies at bay. That's main thing, is to expand the Islamic empire. That's why you fight. It's not just a defensive. Defensive is obvious, makes sense to defend your life and reputation, your honor. That's fine.
So those Muslims that are in Ukraine fighting for Ukraine because they're defending their land, they're the ones that will be shaheed.
Yeah, I mean they are fighting as big as Zalim, and that's the other thing. Like the humiliation that has been rained down on Putin and the economic collapse.
Last week I was on the fence, but after this week, having a look at what's happening and what the Ukrainians are doing and what's actually happening on the ground, you realize, no, man, this guy's lost the plot.
Yeah, well, they reckon COVID got to him.
Oh, come on.
No, I heard this. They said it goes in the last 2 years, not meeting and all that sort of stuff, and the way, like all the restrictions, Dan Andrews got to him.
We're talking about the president of Russia.
Yeah, he cracked because some of the things that he's doing, like for example, the calling in the nuclear alertness.
Right, this guy's crazy enough to press the button. That's what.
Yeah. So he could just want to go out in a blaze of.
That's what I'm saying. If I'm going down,
a blaze of glory. Yeah, he could just
that's scary.
Fight. Because one of the intercontinental, there's a video of the Intercontinental being moved. The intercontinental ballistic missile, which is a nuclear, ICBM. It was on the move in Belarus or somewhere. Like it was, like they were moving it. Those things are not. They're not. You can't miss it. You can't miss it. Yeah, they're moving it in a wartime. So there's something up, and the size of their. I'm thinking like who. Of course, the Zalim's dua, Muslims' duas. There's no barrier, even if he's a kafir. And this was advice given, if I remember correctly, to Muaz bin Jabal, the governor of Yemen. That what it means is the prayer of the oppressed, the prayer of the oppressed is not. There's no barrier. Like there's certain
between
people
that
and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, even a kafir, if you ask Allah, he prays to Allah. If he's oppressed, Muslim, the amount of zulm last 20 years, 30 years, in our lifetime. I mean, it's been there in our human history, a lot of bloodshed. But in Syria, Turkey, what it did was it stopped the ships, Russian ships, which are parked in. Russians only have one foreign naval base, which is in Syria. They're the ones that propped up, along with Iran, Syria, Bashar al-Assad, another zalim, the zulm that he's perpetrating his people. The Russians have propped him up, and they have a naval base. Those naval bases are firing and they're shooting and whatever they're doing there. and it's a base where this, they have their numbers, bolster their numbers and strength. Those 15 ships can't go through the Bosphorus, the Turkey pasta. They're not allowed to go. Actually, can't access the theater,
The
like
ocean.
operation. Yeah, they can't. Not the Black Sea. They can't actually access it from there. So that's a good move, I guess, from Turkey, because it doesn't want to allow through its waters to allow them to go through there. But just think about the people of Syria and Russia. Like it's a very multi-layered situation.
Society as well.
This is a very multi-layered situation. There's history behind this. How many du'as would Chechens have made against Putin and Russia? Right? Those people.
Well, he was the architect of the destruction of Chechnya.
How many people in Syria would have made dua against the opposition forces? Those have not gone to vain. For Russia to collapse in the way it has, by their own hands, by the moves that they make, and we'll get to their justifications in a moment, it is unbelievable to watch that the economy is like, have you seen the ruble? I was watching the chart on it. It's it's like this,
goes bang.
like that. It's collapsed. Like their money's not worth anything now.
Yeah, because they can't. There's no what's it called? Foreign reserves are all frozen.
Yeah.
So they
So
can't
from
use that
every
to prop
angle,
up the ruble.
and the oligarchs already, because it's those
They're
guys.
feeling it.
They're starting to a couple of them already mentioned. They're the like multi super duper rich. Did you did you see that boat?
Yeah, the guy that
The
tried to
Italian
sink
guy
it.
in Italy.
Yeah.
Ukrainian
so it was
mechanic?
a Ukrainian guy. What he did was he flooded the engine room.
Yeah, he
Or he
sunk
opened
the
all the
he,
bilges
he
and
sunk one of the oligarchs' boats. Like he was working on it, and when the war started,
Just a random. Yeah,
he's a mechanic and he sunk his
it was in
boss's.
Mallorca.
Or was it?
Yeah, it was in
I
Mallorca.
thought it was in Italy and Spain. So he sunk his. Those yachts are worth like 100 million or whatever it is, you know. So, so people like Ukrainians are very nationalistic and very loyal and to their people. I mean, it's a very corrupt country. That's well known. That part of the world generally, there's a lot of suspicious things that go on. But amazingly, like I think what I want to say is that.
Right, this is their homeland. Go hard. Doesn't matter how.
Yeah, I
corrupt you
think,
are,
and
whatever
also
you
they're
are,
the
it
underdog,
comes
and
out.
I think instinctively everybody cheers on the underdog, and especially everybody hates a zalim. Yes, like if you just take that in isolation, that people are fighting for their land and their country and they defending their borders and so forth, despite the Zelensky's super duper support. I mean, he is Jewish. That doesn't mean anything. You got Bernie Sanders, or you've got in America like Finkelstein or Noam Chomsky, like Jews that are anti-Israel, you know, in the way they treat Palestinians. So, but he has expressed it, like he's actually gone out of his way to support Israel in its dealings with Gaza and so forth. And he was in his, I think, somebody sent me a thing. I'm not sure how true it is. Fact check this, please. But he was saying he gave like support to Israel in his statement, and someone said to him, or Palestinian said to him, "Wait for the day." What was it?
Yeah, it was like, yeah, it was like,
Wait till Russia comes after you.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, it was. You learn the hard way. You learn the hard way.
You'll learn that, yeah, like what we're going through.
Yeah.
Like, so you can see like these. There's so many layers. On the other side, the guy's become like a superhero. Like everyone loves him. Like you got to give it to him. Whatever the thing. I mean, he's a.
Well, the guy was a comedian. Now he's basically become the president of wartime, and he's like, I'm ready to fight.
Yeah, he's actually
He's not. It's not
exceeded.
like other countries where they don't send their sons and send everybody else's kids.
Oh no, he's there.
He's like, I'm here on
He's
the
there.
front
You can
line
tell
with
from the
you. Follow
videos.
me, not
He's
go
awake.
that way.
He's awake the whole night. Obviously, he's a wartime president for them, and he's risen up to the moment, and he's actually delivered as a like leadership. Him and the Klitschko brothers and a few other mayors. He's the mayor of Kiev. They're like, you know, those guys are interesting. The Klitschko brothers. They're like the mayor. The one who's the mayor, if I remember correctly. He's a PhD. And he's world champion heavyweight boxer. Like it's such a Ukrainian thing. So I mean, look, I think we support the underdog always. I think this is generally, like, I don't know, I think it's a human instinct.
Yeah,
And maybe I think in the West we've been raised up on that drama of, you know, and in this society, generally the people, you know, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said about the Romans that they hate the zulm of kings, you know. And I think this is more pronounced in Western society. Probably they hate their kings, like rulers when they oppress. And when even our rule, like here in Australia, Even
Dan
the ruler,
Andrews.
even Dan Andrews or ScoMo, even they're trying to do the right thing, trying to help their country. Like, we're trying to save you by putting restrictions. No, you're a dictator Dan. You know, like
Dictator Dan.
even the, like they if they sense a little bit of control from them, they go after them. They go for the throat. Like they will draw like I saw pictures. Remember those pictures of Dan Andrews with a Hitler mustache and
the statues, and then the blow up dolls.
blow up dolls
Yeah.
of.
The effigies of Dan Andrews.
Oh, okay.
Where are you going?
I don't know what you're talking about. You said blow up dolls.
What did you learn in class?
So I'm saying first thing is that there's the underdog. We support that. Just the people that the way they've taken the thing. The other thing is the other side is the media's total bias. Not just the media, even the football club, Chelsea, I think it was. Was it Chelsea? No, it wasn't Chelsea. That they banned Palestinian flags and so forth, but then on field they go with Ukrainian flags. So you can see like the extreme.
But do you think that's due to a lack of understanding of what's actually going on the ground, and being politically correct rather than anything else?
I think instinctively they're supporting what they feel is their worldview and their people. Hence, the critical judgment has been put on hold, and the standards are not standards. They're just basically going they're also going by the emotions. And everybody hates Putin. Like, they hate him now. Khabib's Russia UFC thing is over, I think, after this.
It's all over.
They are going to sink. Everything's going to, they're going to sink everything.
I wonder what his take on it is. Has he spoken
He can't.
about it?
Even they asked him about Afghanistan, he got really upset, remember? Because this is the biggest, the Afghan, when the Taliban took over Kabul, they asked him about it at the press conference. I'm here to talk about UFC's franchise, the biggest expansion in thing. He's a MMA fighter. You know, he's Muslim. Yeah, he's probably a good brother.
His focus.
He's probably a good brother. He's probably, a good Dagestani, and he's respected, and he's world champion, all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, he's a UFC fighter. That's as far. Yeah, he's not a politician, and probably he's not interested in it, and he's developing fighters.
I'm sure he's interested in it, but he's just not going to talk about it.
Yeah. So, and he's part of the Russian Federation, like Dagestan, Chechnya, they're all part of the Russian Federation. So, of course, he even if he cannot offer counter view ever, he has to speak whatever.
I actually feel like one of the things that I feel for is one is Ukrainians, but your average Russian on the ground that's just trying to survive.
Yeah, I mean that's the painful thing. The painful thing to watch.
It's a little man that's always going to suffer.
Yeah, you see like old people, and but like I was watching that.
It's a helicopter.
Is it a helicopter?
Yeah.
No.
Huh?
That's a truck.
Yeah, that's a truck. No, that's a truck with its air brakes on.
Yeah,
Shaking
which
the
you
whole
shouldn't
building.
have on.
Shaking the whole building.
Yeah. So, what were we talking about?
Was that an ICBM?
So, like for the
If it is, you're not going to hear this
for
podcast
the average
anyway.
for the average person. But I was like impressed by like the soldiers there, and this old guy just walks up to him, and the guy fires a gun into the ground. He still doesn't move. Like I was watching him, he doesn't flinch even.
There was a lady that went up to Russian soldiers,
I saw.
gives them seeds, sunflower seeds, and says, "Put this in your pocket because when you get buried on this land, at least sunflowers will grow." And the guy's just like, "Please don't create a scene. Please leave. We're not going to resolve this issue." You can see the soldiers like, "What the hell am I doing here?"
Yeah, they squad so many soldiers.
We're not going to be able to solve this problem.
You know what they do? They make him call their mums. Have you seen that?
No.
There's dozens of videos online of Russian soldiers they've captured. And he goes, "What are you doing there?" He goes, "No, they told us that we're going for training." And he goes, "Well, then what do we do now?" And they're very stoic. Even the Russians, like, they're very similar, the Ukrainians and Russians. And the Russians are like, they're very stoic. The way their mums talk to them.
Yeah, but they show that respect.
No. It's not just the respect. It's just like they're very, I wouldn't say unemotional people, but even the mums, like, you don't see them crying or like, what do you mean? What's like when they? But it's a strange thing to do to the Ukrainians, as the Ukrainians do to the Russian soldiers.
Smart.
And it's the
emotional
psyop.
warfare.
The psyop
Yeah,
in that
bro.
is unbelievable. Like they are, they catch these young guys and they're treating me well because he said they follow the Geneva Conventions, like the and you know, like today here, Zelensky, the president, whatever, he formally did an application for the European Union.
Yeah, he's going to apply for everything.
Yeah.
He's going to apply for everything right now. European
Kosovo
Union, NATO,
asked,
everything.
please accept us part of NATO. And it's in the middle of Europe. It's got border countries that are already part of NATO all around. It actually doesn't need to be, but it just wants to accelerate its integration into Europe and European Union. Sweden all of a sudden came out.
One of the most neutral countries.
Switzerland froze all the oligarchs there.
Is that right?
Yeah. Wow. Which is never, they didn't even do that for the Nazis. That's how they got rich. I mean, their banking sector anyway. Yeah. But they didn't, the Sweden, Finland, these countries that are not part of NATO, actually. So they've basically said, we're signing up. We're signing up as well. We're too close to Russia. We've got a psycho there.
But this whole process has made NATO much stronger. So all of that, damage you could say Trump did, or the destruction of the power of NATO.
So I read something.
Flipped it.
Germany. I was reading about the history of Germany's military. So how they rehabilitated the German military after World War II. It's actually amazing. It's a documentary. After World War II, you can't just make an army out of nothing. You need generals. You need like a whole structure. So they had to rehabilitate certain generals.
Really?
Nazi generals who got like the famous crosses, whatever, awards. And those awards then had to be like, they removed the swastika out of it, like replaced it with some other emblem. Like their medals have to be like rehabilitated as well, because you need to provide leadership. And then they have to find the most anti-Nazi generals, like there's a couple of them, who from 40s till the, like after World War II, till 80s, those guys were like 30 years. They were the ones who were actually ex-Nazi, or they were Hitler. They were given medals by Hitler, right? So they were part of the German army. They were rehabilitated. Then they went through a phase of redesigning it's an amazing actually project. They had to redesign the whole German army, where you can go up to superior and ask him a question, which is not part of the German ethos before.
Is that right?
Yeah, like a whole reprogramming and a new
that's not part of any army.
No, not to be thing, but they had to change the whole culture of the army. Then 91, of course, integration of East Germany, how they integrated East Germany into it. And then all of a sudden they were left like with 1 million tanks or whatever, which they can't use. So they had to like basically dismantle them.
They melted down and made Mercedes-Benz cars out
probably,
of it.
And how they made the Leopard, that's considered the best tank in history. So
goes anywhere, does anything.
And they now, like, because of what happened, all of a sudden, so there's a million memes. Some of them you feel like a bit, it's not right. Some of them they're funny, but some of them, like, it's war, it's people dying. It's not something to make joke of. But someone made a meme about Germany. They've increased their budget like 10 times, up to 100 billion. That's crazy. And they the last time Germany was sent eastwards with a large army with a big budget. We have I think we've forgotten, but
they're never going to live that down.
Yeah. But they so the whole the argument against NATO, close to our border, actually Putin's made it a self-fulfilling prophecy. He accelerated whatever.
But you could say that about the West as well.
What do you mean?
Made it a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, this Russian Federation and the European Union and NATO, they have to come border somewhere, right?
No, but it wasn't the Russian Federation. Ukraine was not part of the Russian Federation.
No, the Soviet Union, right?
Yeah,
so
the
NATO was created for the Soviet Union.
Yes.
But and then Russia was after the collapse of the Soviet Union. NATO was really not supposed to go east.
That's correct.
But it did, because in the 90s they had Yeltsin and he was drunk and
he was an alco, mate.
Yeah, so he was like the economy was collapsing and there was bread lines. So the Europe felt like, it's won. Did win.
Yeah, we can do it.
It won. So the West won, and now they can basically Russia's got they can't tell us anything. So they just kept on, I think it was like a ghafla on their part, which they just kept on going east and east.
Yeah, but at the same time, nowadays, when that's brought up, current Western politicians say, oh, no, that's not what we meant. And
sorry?
When that's brought up that, hey, you guys weren't going to go past this line, so basically a line of demarcation,
I don't think an official treaty was there, but there's an understanding.
Words were spoken.
Yeah, words were spoken, and they're on record. And I think that not taking note of those words, now we're paying the price. So it is partly NATO and Europe's
who's paying
fault.
the price? Innocent people.
Yeah.
The average guy on the ground is just trying to live his life.
But I think everybody, just if you see the general attitude of people, everybody wants to live in the West. There's a reason why, right? There's a reason why they want to move their country towards the West. Yeah, it's economically, culturally, we live in the West, so we enjoy all the benefits.
We love Australia.
People can criticize Australia or the West for things, but there are things in it. We know, yes, there are many flaws and so forth, right? Especially with all the woke crap that's going on at the moment. But
I was waiting for that. Were you waiting for that?
But generally, it's peaceful. It's less corrupt.
You've got freedom.
And
We've got our freedoms.
You're not looking over your shoulder. Yeah, if you're going to say stupid things and you threaten people and you're going to say you're going to blow stuff up and people and stuff, yeah, the government's going to come. And that's in any country in the world.
Would you have that any other way, though?
And yeah, and in a Muslim country, because if you talk nonsense like that and you threaten people's lives, then of course they're going to come out after you. In Muslim countries, they're not coming. They'll make you disappear. This is a reality. They're worse over in this.
Yeah, you go to prison.
My cousin got arrested and he got sent for 1 month, and he was 1 month. And the colonel that was, slapping him around, he said that, well, if you die, torturing him. If you die, then you'll be shaheed. If you're innocent, you're shaheed. And if you if you die, like that's their logic, like that's how they think over there. It's not saying that there's war crimes and bad things don't think happen straight, like that Ben Roberts thing.
Yeah,
what he did, threw that person off the cliff and then shot him, summarily execute him. So bad things can happen in any government, any army, and so forth. But overall, if you look at across the board, it's generally we don't have much. We've
got it good, mate.
There are things to improve in this country, but the list is not extensive.
Would you give up your First Amendment right for anything?
Yeah, this is the Canadian idiots. They didn't know that they don't have First Amendment. We don't have amendment. We don't have a Bill of Rights, actually. Yeah. People. We just I think they copied the American one now in Australia recently.
Have they? No, we don't.
We have something, yeah, but nobody knows it. In America, they make you read it out at school assemblies and stuff. So, I mean, they know their rights, sort of thing. Anyway, back to Ukraine. So.
Make dua for
multi-layered,
multifaceted.
People are praying. Like even I was there's one lady. She said, I don't pray. I'm not a religious person, but I started praying. Like I started asking God. So Allah give hidayah to everybody, the Russians and the Ukrainians and the Crimeans and everybody. Like Allah give hidayah to everybody. We can only judge and try to understand it. But I think a lot of it, this is to do. People try to push the narrative to signs of Day of Judgment. Just be mindful, many, many worse things happened in our history, right? Definitely everything that is happening now is connected to what comes afterwards, because whoever is coming afterwards will be the children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren eventually. So your descendants, if they live till Mahdi alayhi salam's time, they're going to exist in that. I mean, like you have a connection. You're in the chain. Humanity is in a chain with the events before it and the events after it, So, so we're not disconnected from what's happening before the Day of Judgment, what's coming in the future, and we're not disconnected from past history and events and so forth. But but I think we have to also be careful not to try to read too much and force hadith and so forth onto when it happens.
Forcing hadith?
Yeah. I mean, there are people talking about, so when the hadith talks about Romans, it means the Russians. People talk things like that. Like this. I mean, no, they have because it represents the Eastern, because Romans understood about Sahaba, the Byzantines, and which is the Orthodox Church of, which became the Orthodox Church of Byzantium. Yeah. So it was the Slavic people and the Eastern sort of Europeans. And then.
So what was the West?
The West was Italy and all that.
Okay.
Like Western France.
So what were they considered? Romans?
They're also Romans, but the Byzantine was, because that was the front that was facing, they were the ones the Arabs faced. So generally European Christianity was generally considered like as Romans, like Europeans basically. So anyway, Italy is also very interesting as well. I mean, like historically, that's another one. Like the Venice and Milan and all the business people, the oligarchs of the Middle Ages, how during the Crusades, the biggest money makers were the Italians.
Yeah.
Like
And
behind,
Venice has got such an interesting history. Maybe we should do that.
yeah,
one
the
day.
Merchant of Venice and all that. Like it's a very because I'm reading this book, The Silk Road, at the moment, and it's really enjoyable. And in that, he talks about. I didn't know how much of a hand during the crusade. What's that? What's that sound? I think that's my chair. Sorry.
You're breaking your chair, mate. What's going on?
So there's a very interesting history. The Muslims in Crimea, which is part of Russia now, was part of Ukraine, is something worthwhile studying. I feel the masjids, they're like Turks, basically.
So why don't we find for next podcast a hero of Crimea?
In the list on YouTube, on Wikipedia, I might have been mistaken. There wasn't a list of famous. I looked in the list. There wasn't anybody there notable. So I could be wrong, but there may be another list somewhere.
Do it for your people, bro.
There's more than 100 of them. They're in jail in Russia.
Really?
Yeah. Because they've been taken, because anyone that's a political dissident or have political view, as in Russia.
Yeah, you're locked up.
Yeah. Navalny, what's that guy?
Navalny.
Yeah, like people, they make him disappear. Yeah. So, Allah on them. I mean, the Islamic thing, the Chechnya one's really sad, like, compared to what they were and what they've become. They become soldiers for hire, unfortunately. My dad was telling me about a book or something he was reading about a famous, during the British Raj, Muslims that were serving in the British Empire, but then, they're sent on expeditions around the world into other Muslim countries against Muslims. And so I think there was an expedition or something, there was an army sent for an operation in Syria. So these Indian soldiers that were serving, if I remember correctly, and then there was Italians that are there, they invited them for dinner, and I'm not sure what they served, but they whatever Italian meal, they
Pasta,
linguine, and so they invited for dinner. As they were about to eat, the Italians said, "Look, we're like coming from Europe, like we have these colonial projects to rule the world and all that sort of stuff, right? What are you here for?"
for the Queen and country.
And they're there for their empire and whatever, but you're like servants in in this imperial army. Like he said, the food. He said that the food got stuck in his we couldn't got stuck in my throat, and it was true. And he said that we were like soldiers for hire. They're like mercenaries, and they were hired as soldiers and cannon fodder, and they're looking for a livelihood and it's easy money and so forth. But you lose sight of the whole what's actually happening, the big picture. I think that's part of it. A lot of these soldiers, like in Ukraine, you see these young soldiers.
Most soldiers.
They told us we're going training. They're getting us kill people here. They're making us kill people here. They said that the soldiers, these young like kids, like teenagers, some of them. Wow. He said we were told that we're going for training, exercises. We didn't know that we're going into an active battle. I reckon what they did was, there's actually certain divisions. They use these young crappier sort of like poorer guys as cannon fodder at the front.
Right. And then everyone else.
And then you got, I know, because watching one of them, they were sending in special, like there's special divisions. So like they you look at them and the way they behave is very different. Like they're very expertly trained and like so forth. So they're probably just using their like lowest ranking or
as a distraction.
Yeah, because they're making mistakes. Like they're running out of fuel. They're running like. Do you see that?
Or the tanks driving through buildings with the manholes open.
Yeah,
so
or like there's like unprofessionalism, like in the front, the vanguard, and so you're curious, like if these are so. There's all these people being used, and these Chechen ones as well. They've been used like and voluntarily, like Kadyrov, like he's such a puppet of like that's the reason why he's in power. He's at Putin's behest. His father, they sold out, that family, they sold out to the Mujahideen at the time and so forth, and they sold out. And so now, like their soldiers, mercenary for hire. I lost a lot of respect. I mean, not for the Chechen people, obviously, and for Islam there and so forth, but just to see that the people who fought them and destroyed their city and killed the Mujahideen and their fighters, now they are serving them. They're serving them voluntarily by their own, like they're presenting themselves for them, which is, I don't know, like Islamically, what is the hukum for that? Those are specialists in that, they'll give an answer for that. But it was just, that's probably the saddest for me as a Muslim. And then the Crimeans, what they think about the Chechens, because it developed a whole attitude now towards, not maybe Muslims, but, they might, I don't think the Ukrainians are any friends of any Muslims.
No, they think they're dogs.
Huh?
I think that
Even the Crimean Tatars, because they were complaining about how the Ukrainians were treating them. He said Russia's probably worse for us, and it is. But he said that the Crimeans, like there were no oil, no gas, no water properly connected. So they were they were sort of like ignored by the Ukrainians, the Tatars, mistreated probably by the Russians. Historically, have always been for 200-300 years. The Chechens, they just basically are going in. One of their generals got killed there as well. You know, like that's the Islamic angle, I guess. Always a bigger power attacking a smaller power and doing zulm is no one will ever support the zalim, you know. No matter how many good you think Putin is or what his ethics are or whatever, in this, like, you can't win. Like, as an argument that I'm going to support him, I'll be on his side. No, it's like, yeah, and the West is taking advantage of it. NATO is pushing quickly, and European Union, and the West is going to advantage.
And they will.
And they will break, they'll break Russia, or they'll bring it to war, or they'll make them go mad. And then
basically bring it to.
And the next step is maybe this is my opinion, but I reckon it's a trial run what they'll do to China.
I was about to say, I wonder what China's thinking when they're watching this. Is Xi Jinping going, yeah, let's leave Taiwan alone?
Yeah.
But the thing is, at the same time, China's a much bigger economy than Russia.
Yeah, I mean,
so
they
there's
could
a big
weather
difference
it.
there. And not just can China weather
After seeing this week...
Can the West weather a war with China or one of these type of trade wars with China?
Well, look, 50% of the gas or whatever was coming from Russia. They need it for heating and whatever for industry. They've just changed their timetable for renewables, Germany, from 2050 to 2035. That's only 13 years from now.
Wow.
That our majority of our electricity will be from renewables within 13 years. That's nothing. Like, he's triggered things, and I was just thinking about this, what that means for the Middle East. Do you understand? Like, their main, like, other than the Islamic significance for us, and but the geopolitics is about to change, because if they go renewables because of Russia, and Finland, I think already is more than half the cars in Finland are already electric. So once
it's good for Australia. Plenty of coal to be exported.
To what?
For the power plants.
No, they're going to renewables.
These electric cars.
How
are you going to charge your car?
Electricity.
Yeah. Where does that come from?
France is building 50 new nuclear power plants.
See, I disagree with nuclear power plants.
I think in a stable area it's fine.
No, but the storage of that nuclear waste.
Chernobyl,
and the storage of that nuclear waste. Well, what is it? They're doing it out in South Australia.
What's that?
Nuclear waste storage.
Oh yeah, you got to put. Western Australia.
You got to put it somewhere.
What's in Western Australia?
Right, that's not the point.
Yeah,
South Australia.
Hey, did you see that mosquito thing? South Australia.
No.
There's a mosquito that like 2% of people can get like infected with because of the humidity. This mosquito can bite you, and it spreads a certain illness, and some people are genetically susceptible to it.
Great, COVID 3.0.
How bad is it?
It's not very bad, but the humidity increase in the, climate change or whatever. All that stuff.
Ahmed's been so quiet. We need to hear more from him.
Yeah.
No,
Tell us about Ukraine. Your link to Ukraine.
Tell us about your link to Ukraine, Ahmed.
No, but it just shows them how much I haven't been invested in the latest, like the politics about the country and how it runs and all that stuff. That's why I'm staying quiet, because if it would seem if I say something.
Bro, just throw your 2 bobs in, mate. It's fine.
Yeah.
No.
Tell us what you feel when you see refugees from Ukraine.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, I agree with what Malkha said about when you have this innate ability, you just want to go for the underdog or see which ones, what you want to go for the one that's always seems like they're being oppressed. But then again, how come
everyone's not a Carlton supporter?
No, but like, how would you know? But there's so much history. Like, even if you think, okay, they're being oppressed, whatever. But what about the history?
Can I ask a question? Do you, as an Albanian, do you feel white?
Not really. No.
I don't mean to be offensive, but
you weren't. You weren't.
Like,
no, 100%.
do you blend in?
That mean?
Do you blend do you identify yourself like as Australian?
Bro, do you reckon this guy walks down Burke
because
Street,
we can't.
He's gonna blend.
I mean, I'm a little bit more than Abdul Wajid. Abdul Wajid is more less.
My wife is always telling me I identify as a 6'6" white guy.
No, but like when I see you, like we don't blend in as easily. Like but you're white.
Okay, let's look at what Ahmed looks like right now.
Yeah.
And he's just going to blend in down at the local?
No. Take the jubba and the topi off. I'm just curious, Do you have white privilege?
I don't know. Like, how far do you when you say
when
white,
you go to
how
Coles,
far
do they
do you
let
go?
you
Let's
into the
say
front of
if
the
you're
line?
wearing tracky decks and a t-shirt and you're in among do you feel out of place?
Yeah.
No, not because you. Do you feel people will notice you?
Oh yeah, of course.
Well, we
No,
st-
I don't.
Huh?
Yeah. I
If
feel
I'm
like
wearing
that.
tracky decks and a t-shirt, I feel like just the next bloke
Yeah,
over.
like he's deluded himself into thinking he's Australian.
I actually don't.
he's trans race. You know that's a new thing.
What?
Trans race identifies a black person.
Oh yeah, I've heard that. Come on, man.
There's people on Instagram and YouTube and so forth.
Well, I identify as a 6'6" white guy.
Yeah. So, yes.
Really? Do you feel in tracky decks and a t-shirt in just say at the local? Not that you'd be going to the local.
You should be asking forgiveness for your white privilege. you know those guys in the US. I'm sorry for being white.
What?
Yeah, there's
yeah,
like
yeah.
videos online. It's ridiculous, but
I don't know.
they
where-
put themselves like a father and son. They put himself in a block and chains
No.
and like to like
Oh,
and
bro,
cry
please don't
and
go-
to
don't-
ask
don't
for
go
what my
there.
forefathers have done. I know Albanians haven't done that, but it's I'm just yeah.
Bro, I'm so sorry I brought attention to you. I'm
mind
so
it.
sorry.
I don't
brought
mind. I don't
attention
mind.
to
Yeah,
you.
he don't mind. He's got white privilege, man.
No.
He goes,
They don't feel nothing, man.
I'll get
They're
him
the
at the- I'll-
confidence.
I'll
They have
get- I'll-
confidence. They have
I'll get him
confidence.
I'll get him at the petrol station.
They can take the world on. You know?
I'll get him at the petrol station.
They have their own world wars. When white people fight, like when several white countries come against several other white countries, we call it a world war. You know,
No, we consider ourselves separate from like a number of people who consider.
Do you
themselves,
consider yourself superior?
superior? No, not superior.
Albanians.
Okay, do,
Well, when you say
Albania, do
myself as a
Albanians
Albanian?
consider themselves superior?
I can't speak because I'm like more or less Aussie. I've been born and raised
there you
here, so I
go.
can't
So,
speak
yeah.
from their perspective.
yeah. But like generally, because you mix with the Albanian community,
Hardly even then because I spend most of my life
He's
like.
being so politically correct right
yeah.
now. He's being so
Honestly
politically
speaking,
correct right now.
I can't even like when I see Albanians speak about the
Which
history,
city are you from in Albania? Or your parents from?
Oh, no, from the Macedonia. They're from Macedonia. So they're Macedonians.
Macedonians.
Like,
So even more European, more white.
So like that's what I'm saying. Like I can't relate to them. I can't exhibit that same amount of emotion that they do. So
Yeah.
even if I tried, it would be difficult because they like when they explain it as if they've personally like we went through that. You
Well,
know
they did go through it.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I can't do that. So
I was reading about the
And what have you gone through?
what
Doncaster High.
what
The Indian privilege, the Paki privilege. When you go back to Pakistan, do you... Okay, here's a question. You're saying when you're in tracky decks, when you're wearing a jubba and a kurta or whatever, and you're in the middle of Pakistan, do you feel like a local? Like
No.
normal blending? I don't feel it.
even if I wear the local clothes, from the way you walk, they know that you're from outside.
But yeah, that's right. You don't feel it.
Yeah.
Right, so this is I think we talked about this before. The curse of the first generation of migrants. You're neither here nor there.
Yeah.
It is.
It's
the-
a
it
unique
is what
experience.
It is.
Yeah.
So like, if you're here, people still go to me. Oh, where you from?
It's not a
I'm like,
standard. It's not a standard.
Faulkner.
Huh?
Where you from? Faulkner.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I get that.
And when you go there, you get asked where
Yeah.
you're from.
Yeah, I get that.
I don't mind that. I don't care about that. But yeah, I'm curious. Like
I've had a good run. I can't complain. Not that I sound
Yeah.
like an old man right now, but yeah.
Albania, Macedonia. What's the other place? Where's Kosovo?
Yeah.
Kosovo. They're also
So,
Albanians.
yeah.
Where else are they? Wasn't one
Well,
country
there's-
enough?
No,
But,
Bro, you need to apologize to all of Europe. All of these people, and
No, there's-
I
make sure
apologize
you-
to all white people and for blaming you for your transgressions of your forefathers. Slavery and whatever, which has got nothing to do with us. Yeah. No. Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
There went to a lot of countries. I checked online. Where does Albanian spoken? That's what I went through research on like a long time ago. Where does Albanians be spoken? 3.5 million on Google or whatever. They says and Albanians speak Albanian, but then there's like 10 million people around the world speaking Albanian.
Oh, okay. So there'll be like the diaspora, like in Australia, in America, and other places in
Yeah.
Europe. Yeah.
They wouldn't be speaking if
They'll
they
be in
didn't consider
Germany and those
themselves-
places. They're like those sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah. They like hanging around the Eastern Europe, Eastern Bloc, sort of.
I don't. Maybe further. I don't know.
Yeah.
There was Australia.
Well, he's made it to Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His family has.
Yeah.
There was
Hey,
a
we
few-
got to call it a night. I got a
Yeah.
meeting in about 25 minutes.
May
Inshallah.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you Janatul Firdaus.
I mean, I'm
And
going
make your
for Umrah,
amazing
inshallah.
visa.
Make dua.
Ameen.
I had my negative test today for the rat test. You got to do it. Saudi needs it within 48 hours before you leave. Alhamdulillah was negative. And
So when are you on the ground?
I failed the test, and then I can go to Saudi Arabia.
So how long?
Tomorrow night's my flight. So this
how long you
recording
going
we put out after that, by Friday. But I'll be in Medina Munawwara when the recording's put out, inshallah.
And how long are you going for?
12 days. So 10. I think roughly about 5 days in Makkah, Medina Munawwara, then 5 days in Makkah Mukarramah, and then 2 days in Turkey on the way back. It's just part of the ticket. So with the group.
The group's staying 2 days in Turkey.
Yeah, on the way back.
Whatever.
Whatever. Yeah, I'll have a kebab, I guess.
You're not
I'll have a
going to
kebab for you.
room, bro. You're going to be like this when you get off the plane.
I'll have a.
He's going to have these convulsions on the way to the hotel.
No. I'll have a kebab there, and I'll have
you been to Turkey before?
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
Are the kebabs in Turkey better than the ones in Australia?
It's weird. We only have one type of kebab in Australia. I mean, we have the skandar and a few others. If you go if you're in Melbourne, go to Katix, isn't it? In Barry Road in Broadmeadows, just up the road. MashaAllah, they seem to do like they're at the top of their game.
It's
a family business
the best kebabs.
It's a family business from Turkey, I think. Like their family. That's
they're
why
from
they're
Katik, the town.
Is it a town? No, it's from Adana. I think they're from Adana.
No, Adana is a different town.
I think it's near Adana somewhere. Anyway, whatever it is.
I just threw that
it's
out
good.
there, bro.
It's good kebab.
It's good eating.
But in Turkey, every town has its own style of doing it. So there's not like we have the Jaro standard kebab in Australia. There's one guy, like 2 companies that make it.
Yeah.
But over there, it's like very uniquely, like in each village or town, they have their own style of cooking.
Is it expensive?
I don't know. I'll find out. I don't think so. Yeah.
Bring me a kebab.
Yeah, and I'll say hi to Erdogan for you as well. And
customs will be like, yeah, mate.
And I'll
It's
visit.
a kebab for my podcast, buddy.
Last thing I'll finish off with, and I really have to go.
Assalamu
But
alaikum.
but last thing, there's a beautiful thing in Topkapi, which is a palace, which was a seat of power for the Ottomans, and there's this beautiful spot that I went to last time, where it's like a little cover, like the overviews of like across the Bosphorus to Asia, and it's the place where the Khalifa sat and made iftar. Like it's got this like it's a little like
no way.
It's just nice. Like it's just nice, and it's and then there's all these other things in there as well. But that was like and then you try to picture it, what he would be seeing, and just sitting at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, and being the Khalifa and the rule of the Muslims. And it would just be it was just one thing that I liked about that place. Maybe I'll go visit it again. Anyway,
my life is now
make
complete.
dua, inshallah. Have a safe trip and come back, inshallah.
Please like, subscribe, and press the bell icon. Ahmed, Jazakallah khair for joining us and gracing us with your presence.
And you're listening.
Maulana, Jazakallah khair for regaling us with your knowledge.
Astaghfirullah.
And Wajid, Jazakallah khair
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what. All right.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum.